Donald Trump, of course, is being prosecuted in multiple jurisdictions by multiple people. But that is not stopping the Trump humpers in Congress, the Republicans in Congress who are loyal to him. Frankly, this list, these Republicans who are loyal to him, it appears to me to be a list of the Republicans who also arguably engaged in the insurrection or gave aid and support to it. These are all, every single one of these names are people that, in my opinion, should not be serving in Congress right now, because I believe under Article 3 of or Section 3 rather, of the 14th Amendment, which says that, anybody who has participated in an insurrection, fomented an insurrection, or given aid and comfort to a person participating in an insurrection no longer qualifies to run for public office or to hold public office. And these are all the people that had asked Donald Trump for pardons. They knew that they were engaging in criminal activity. But what they're doing now is they're saying, well, we're gonna mess with the appropriations process because, there's 12 pieces of legislation that have to be passed before the end of next month. And there's only, I think, 14 legislative days in the next month, because Congress only meets a couple days a week and all that, all that kind of stuff. These 12 pieces of legislation have yet to be passed. Only one of them has even been, well written. And these guys are saying that they're going to put into these pieces of legislation specific provisions to cancel the prosecutions of Donald Trump. Will it work? Jack Smith's office is funded by a permanent appropriation. They would have to basically outlaw Jack Smith, but they're trying to do that. This is pretty amazing. Here's Representative Andrew Clyde of Georgia, a Trump ally who asked for a pardon and in my opinion, was in on the insurrection. He's on the Appropriations Committee. He says he's going to introduce 2 amendments to eliminate federal funding for all 3 of Trump's prosecutors, Jack Smith, Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis, and Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Matt Gaetz, the guy who was being investigated for child sex trafficking down in Florida, is pushing to cut off funding for Smith's office. The House of Representatives, he says, must defund Jack Smith's office and end the witch hunt. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who also asked for a pardon, is supporting that push. Over at the House Judiciary Committee, Jim Jordan, a Republican from Ohio, is publicly calling for party leaders to insert provisions into government funding legislation that changes how the Justice Department can use money. See, right now they would have to do this first before they could defund Jack Smith. Last week, Gymnasium Jordan opened an investigation into Fonnie Willis, demanding all documents pertaining to her office's receipt and use of federal funds. He's just basically trying to tie up her staff. He's also probed Bragg, Alvin Bragg in New York, and after he indicted Trump on charges of falsifying business records, that's the hush money payments. And Andy Biggs, another insurrectionist, in my opinion, Republican from Arizona, he's proposing legislation, quote, to strip taxpayer funding from the Fulton County DA office. So keep an eye on this. We'll see where this goes. I think that we have some legitimate concerns here about, what these guys are doing on the one hand. On the other hand, it's unlikely that any of this legislation will pass. In fact, it's impossible that any of it will become law because the Democrats control the Senate and they simply won't vote for it. Which brings us to Plan B, or Option B, which is that the Republicans propose this, they write it into law. Now, they may not even, these Trump humpers in Congress, in the House, may not even be able to get their Republican colleagues to go along with this, much less getting any Democratic votes. So it's possible it won't even pass the House or any of these things. There's multiple efforts here. None of them will pass the House. But like I said, they're not going to make it out of the Senate. So what happens? Well, without these 12 pieces of legislation being passed, our government shuts down on October 1st, or begins the process of shutting down on October 1st. Janet Yellen begins moving money around, right? We saw this last year too. Or actually we saw it this spring. So, Republicans just love to try to crash the economy.